Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today what I'm going to go over is I'm going to go over just the very basics on how to open up a program that we can find on the internet, how to use it to edit our picture, how to do some very, very basic adjustments to that photo, and then how to save things. So, if you didn't guess already, the program we're going to use is called Photopea.com, and that's going to be in your browser. So, whichever browser that you end up using on your device, whether it's Chrome, whether it's the Microsoft one that was given to you, whichever one you're using, you're going to go to Photopea.com. Photopea is basically, it's almost exactly like the program called Photoshop. I don't know how they're allowed to do it or if they're allowed to do it, but they've basically copied the Photoshop program and they put it online with a free version that is pretty much just a ripoff. You actually can save your projects in a Photoshop document and open it up in Photoshop, and really it's there, and you can use it as much as you like. Photoshop is a industry standard photo editing program, but a lot of professional artists use it for everything from retouching of photos to drawing to comic books to layouts. You can edit video in it. It does everything. And it is a very expensive program. It's also a very large program that your devices definitely would not support, probably crash them. So Photopea is the next best thing. It's a free bootleg version. The only issue is we're not paying for the premium and we're not downloading it to our devices. So to use Photopea, you're going to use it in the browser. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that you can't really save your work onto the browser. What you can do is download your project every day and save it that way. And what's going to happen by doing that, it means is you're going to have multiple copies of your work from every day you work on them. The projects we're going to be doing are not gigantic in size, so I think that will be fine. And I'll go over later on how to clean up your hard drive afterwards. But again, it should make things easier for not losing projects. So what we're going to do with Photopea is when you open it up, I've opened this up many times. You probably, when you open it up, will see a giant error message or warning message with a big X on it. You can just close that out. And then what you should be looking at is exactly what you see on my screen. To open, what we're going to do is we're going to go Open from Computer. And under the Open from Computer, what we're going to look for is we're going to look for the drawing that we made. And in my case, I have my drawing right over here. The photograph I just took earlier. I'm going to click Open. And of course, in the moment where I need it, it creates a little bit of a problem. Okay, here we go. I'll do that again. I've got Open. All right, so when I've clicked Open, my picture of my work should just open up in just like this. What you're going to see is you have the regular browser menu up top. But inside the browser, there's going to be the top menu for Photopea, which will be dark gray. So when we're looking for options, these are the places we're looking for it, not up here in like Chrome or whatever you're using. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the toolbar. And the toolbar consists of a lot of different tools. You're going to see that each one of those icons, on most of them, there's also other tools hiding underneath. There's going to be a ton of functions. We're only going to learn a few simple ones. All right, so don't worry about all that right now. But when you click on a different tool, you're going to notice that some of the things change right under our top menu. And what changes is that Tools option. So here's our toolbar. Here's our tool options. Here is our top menu. On this side, we have something called our history. So for every command that we do, you're going to see in the history, it makes a note of that. So this is a place where we can undo things, redo things, and sort of check our work. And then in the bottom area over here, you're going to see a few tabs. The one that should automatically be open is called Layers. And layers, we're going to get into more likely tomorrow, but layers are basically an area where you can stack images one on top of each other. I can have the image that I currently have, which is called background. You can see what I have is a tiny little thumbnail of the picture that I have out here. The layers will make more sense when I start adding layers. I'm not going to do that today, but that's just to let you know the layout of your program. Now, there are a lot of different options in this. Again, it is almost exactly like Photoshop. They use almost all the same functions, which means there's going to be a lot of stuff here that you don't need. For the professional user, almost everything that you find on this program has a shortcut. And even though it's not the legit Photoshop, the shortcuts are almost all the same. So there are a couple things that you want to know about. The first one I'm going to tell you is about how to zoom in and zoom out. For me on the Mac, it's a Command plus or minus. And for you, it may very well be Control plus or Control minus. So by holding down that button and then tapping the plus key, which is up by delete or backspace, or pressing the minus key, which is right next to it, and that should be on the top layer where your numbers are, you're able to zoom in and zoom out. If you hit Control 0, like the letter 0, or the number 0, I'm sorry, it will make your picture full screen. What we're going to do today is we're going to brighten up this picture a little bit, and then we're going to save it. That's all we need to accomplish. So I'm going to do a few functions a day and try to keep it simple. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go up to the Image tab in the gray area here, and we want to click Image. Under that will be a drop-down menu, and we want to go to Adjustments. From Adjustments, what we want to do is we want to go to black and white first. Okay? Even though your drawing is in black and white, it's still a color photo that you're taking. I want to go into black and white. You're going to see all this stuff on a menu. You don't really need to know anything about this. Just once you're in black and white, hit OK. And you'll notice my picture is now gone to gray. You can see the sleeve over here is all gray. And the reason I do this is because otherwise, sometimes because of the photo, your background might end up being like a little brown or a little yellow looking, and it's better to make it just black and white. Once we're done with black and white, you're going to go to Image, Adjustments, and then you're going to go to Levels. It's the second one down. When Levels opens up, there's going to be another little drop-down menu, a little bit of a pop-up window. And in there, you're going to see a graph. Your graph will look different than mine. You're going to see a gradient scale from white to black, sample from image, OK, reset, and preview. You want to make sure your preview is clicked on, all right, that it's checked. If for whatever reason it's off, make sure it's on. This graph represents the different shades of gray in your picture. This would be there's no really white. This is the white end, but it doesn't really start at white. It starts at sort of a light gray, I guess. This center box is the medium gray. This end over here says what's black. What I want to do is I want to brighten this picture up a little bit. So I'm going to take that white dot, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to drag it this direction. What you're noticing is that my picture is getting lighter and lighter. All right, if I go too far this way, all of it's going to become white. What I want is I just want to brighten the picture up enough that I don't start losing detail in it. And you can always zoom in by hitting Control plus to kind of see. I use 2 fingers on the trackpad to move my picture around. And then I can kind of look to adjust. This is going to be too bright. Over here is probably a little bit too dark. I just want to brighten it up a little bit. I don't want to lose all my fine detail. I'll brighten it up just a little bit more. On the other end of the spectrum is black. If I click and drag that, you can see it's going to make things darker and darker. Now, I don't want to make it too dark either, but I do think I like getting that little bit of contrast. If I click on the preview button, this will sort of like make the changes I made invisible. So you can see what it looked like, which was pretty gray and pretty sort of dark. When I click preview, let's see, by adjusting those things, I made my picture brighter and I made my lines darker. And that's going to be good for my drawing. It doesn't have to be perfectly white, nor should it be jet black. You have to use these sort of buttons and slide them back and forth and find what looks good for your picture. I'm good with mine. I'm going to hit OK. When you hit OK, that's going to keep it at the level that you just selected. Now, at this point, what I want to do is I want to save this picture. Okay? It's the only part that we're going to do this thing is make it black and white and adjust the levels. Now to save this, I want to save it as a PSD. That PSD means Photoshop document. That file won't really open in other programs. It only can open up in Photopea. But it is the document style that we'll be able to come back to every day and edit and change and make improvements. So to save it, we're going to go to File and Save as PSD. When I click that, you're going to see what happened is that it downloads immediately a Photoshop document to my downloads folders. If I go to my download folder right here, you can already see my project over here has been saved. It was saved whatever the name of it was before. In this case, it was just a number, a date and a number from my camera. And then it's .psd. That is correct. All right, and again, that's going to go automatically to your downloads folder. Your device is going to be a little bit different than mine, but the PSD file will automatically go to that downloads folder. Once you've saved it, you're done for the day. Tomorrow and the day after, I'm going to start going into how we're going to paint it and color it. But the number one thing I wanted to make sure from everybody before I started that, is you guys know how to open something in Photopea and how to save something in Photopea. To close this out, I mean, you could just close out the tab, but realize if it gives you an error message or it says, do you really want to leave the page? That means your work is not saved. If you go to your downloads folder and you try to just double click on this and it'll open, it will not work. Realize that you do not have this file, this Photopea program on your actual device. It's just being accessed through the browser. So tomorrow when you want to open up your work, you'll have to go to the website. It won't automatically be saved there. Some people never really understand that, and they say, Mr. B, I didn't save my work, it's lost. You have to save it every time you leave as a PSD, and then you have to go back to the program to open it up. So tomorrow when you come in, you'll go open from computer. You'll find in your downloads folder the PSD file that has been saved, and you'll hit open. It should come up exactly the way that you had it the other day. If you do other stuff to this, you would save it as a PSD. That would download into your downloads folder. You'd have an additional copy of it, which is not a bad thing, especially since some of you tend to lose things. And then again, you can just close that out. So that's all you need to do for the first part. You shouldn't do this part until I've checked your drawing and given you max points for it. Only move on to this part if you've already finished that. With that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video.